This little JavaScript program allows you to resize the HTML div element in all possible directions and perform drag and drop functionality. Instead of div element, it can be any block level HTML element if need be. As you can see, the cursor is changing style, hinting at possible operation, depending on its position. Let's begin. As usual, that's a basic HTML template. The body element. Inside the div with ID container are two children elements. Div with ID myDiv. All actions will be applied to this div. The h2 element to display myDiv attributes changed on the fly by JavaScript. Styling. Margin 0, padding 0, box size and border box for all elements. ID selector container. Occupies the whole viewport. Position relative to enable its child myDiv positioning. Background color and border just for some design to be present. It's all optional. Overflow hidden. Will clip the movable myDiv element when some part of it goes outside the container, so scroll bars will not appear. ID selector myDiv. Position absolute to allow JavaScript to reposition the element using top, left, width and height CSS properties. Background color and border are optional for fun and beauty. The h2 element will serve to display auxiliary info. It will be myDiv CSS inline properties. They will be changed dynamically by script. Now to the script element. For convenience, all the present elements are assigned to variables. Delta width represents the distance in pixels. If the mouse cursor coordinates are less than this distance from borders or corners of the element, the cursor will change its style to hint at a possible operation. IsMouseDown variable. It's a Boolean flag variable, set to true and false by mouse down and mouse up events. Used to control myDiv elements resize and drag and drop logic. You will see how it works a bit later. Hold mouse X and hold mouse Y for keeping the mouse cursor position when the left mouse button is pressed, i.e. mouse down event is fired. We need to keep the initial myDiv position and size to calculate resize and movement. So instead of declaring a bunch of variables to hold these values, I will be using a clone of myDiv element at the start of any resize or move operation, and all needed variables will be these clone properties. Events. Resize on window will call init myDiv function. This function will set the myDiv size and position since the viewport size has changed. Pretty basic stuff. It's optional and instead you can just press reload current page in the browser. Mouse down event signifies that the resize or move operation can be started. Firstly, it sets the Boolean flag variable isMouseDown to true. Then take a snapshot of mouse cursor coordinates and element that fire the event and keep them in global variables hold mouse X, hold mouse Y and hold LM. We need them later when the new position and size will be calculated. Mouse up event do only one thing, set flag variable isMouseDown to false. Mouse move event on myDiv element will call two functions. Set cursor have a job to set elements attributes cursor value, depending on where inside element mouse cursor is. Let's take a look at this function. When called, this function received two arguments, mouse move event object and delta width constant. Using an event object, we have access to its properties. It's easy to access the mouse position inside the element which codes the event. Take a look. This e.layer x is the mouse cursor's horizontal position inside the myDiv element. Using this cursor position, we can define the possible operation. For the first if statement in line 75, we check if the distance to the element's left boundary is less than the constant delta width. If true, then we have three possible cursor values to choose from: northwest resize, southwest resize, and west resize. In the next two if statements, we check if the cursor position is close enough to the top left or bottom left corners and set cursor values respectively. If none of these conditions are true, then the cursor value is set to west resize. The same logic is applied to the remaining 5 cursor values. There are a total of 8 possible cursor resize values. And if they all failed, we come to the if on line 107. If the mouse cursor is closer to the top boundary than 25 pixels, the cursor value is set to move. Lastly, if none of these conditions triggers, the cursor value is set to outer, which is the default browser cursor. Let's check this logic. Back to the mouse move event. The second function is display elem attributes. It displays my div element attributes, which are changed by the script. Take a look. It all seems more scientific this way. Now to the mouse move event on the container. It's my div parent element. When the event is fired, we call the resize move function, passing the event object and my div element as arguments. The function resize move is the place where all actions happen. If the left mouse button is not pressed, means no resize or drag and drop operation can be active, and we do nothing but return. Next if checks if hold elem is the clone of my div element. If not, means the mouse down event was fired not on my div element, and no resize or move operation is possible. Return from this function. If all was okay, we need to perform the needed move or resize function. Constant dx and dy will be the distance between mouse cursor coordinates when the mouse down event was fired and current coordinates. And now goes the list of 9 ifs to find and execute needed function. Remember, hold elem is the clone of my div element done in the mouse down event. That's why hold elem.style.cursor keeps the cursor value set by the setCursor function, and by checking this property we can find the needed function to perform. Move operation doesn't change element size, just position. We add to initial mydiv coordinates the distance traveled by the mouse since the mouse down event was fired. The mydiv element just follows the mouse cursor in this case. If the line cursor value is equal to nResize, then we call nResize function. The northResize function. Inside nResize, 2 lines of code. mydiv element top and height properties updated in such a way that the resize stop executed. The same logic for the rest 7 possible directions. One notable thing. For diagonal resize, we call 2 respective functions, because diagonal movement in the Cartesian coordinate system composed of 2 movements along horizontal and vertical axes. When program starts, it just calls init mydiv function to put my div element in center. One more thing. Function resize move contains too many ifs, Someone will say it's not okay. Let's refactor to switch operator. The second version of this program. All the same, except instead of ifs is one switch. Close the live server and open the live server for this version. All works the same. That's all for now.